Today on December 14th, Archangel Michael says, "I saw your future, and I couldn't stop crying. I wasn't allowed to tell you, until now. You have 16 seconds left. My beloved child, before you even understand why your heart is beating faster right now, listen carefully, because this moment was written long before you arrived here, and there is a reason your eyes stopped scrolling at this exact second. I was shown a future that most are never allowed to see, and when the veil was lifted, my strength failed me, not because of fear, but because of the weight of what is about to turn in your favor, and yet how close you came to missing it entirely. I watched paths collapse behind you, doors that slammed without warning, people who smiled while quietly stepping away, and seasons where you questioned your worth in silence. All of that was not rejection, it was preparation. Something huge is waiting for you, but it does not arrive gently. It arrives after pressure, after confusion, after nights where you asked the sky for one sign and felt nothing answer back. I saw the moment you almost chose to give up on expecting anything good, and that is the moment heaven leaned forward. You are not late. You are not forgotten. You are standing on the final edge of a cycle that ends today, and what comes next is so different from what you have lived that it shook me when I saw it unfold, because joy hits harder after endurance, and restoration feels unreal to those who survived the storm without applause. Hear this, because time is folding in on itself right now, and you do not have the luxury of doubt. There are 16 seconds in which your attention becomes a key, and keys open what force never could. I was not allowed to speak earlier because the timing was not aligned. Your heart was still carrying attachments that would have contaminated the gift, but now the alignment is exact. I saw your future self standing in a place you never imagined reaching, calmer, steadier, no longer explaining your pain to people who never listened. I saw a turning of reputation, a reversal where those who underestimated you suddenly go quiet, not because you proved them wrong with noise, but because your results speak without permission. There is a shift in provision, not rushed, not chaotic, but precise, arriving through channels you once dismissed as impossible. The delay was protection. The silence was strategy. And the tears I could not stop were not sorrow, they were awe. Because the same hands that allowed the waiting are now releasing acceleration. What you thought would break you refined you. What you thought was loss carved space. And what you thought was the end was actually the last test of your patience before abundance is allowed to recognize your address. Stay with me, because the next movement does not announce itself with thunder, it begins quietly, almost invisibly, and those who blink miss it. I saw conversations that change direction without warning, decisions that feel small but reroute entire years, and an inner certainty rising in you that no longer needs validation. The future I saw does not look loud, it looks stable, secure, and finally aligned with who you really are. The waiting ends not with chaos, but with clarity. You will understand why certain prayers were delayed and why certain desires were reshaped, because what is coming fits you better than what you begged for before. Do not rush ahead in your thoughts, do not retreat into old fear. This message reached you because your season has turned, and turning seasons require attention, not panic. Hold steady. Receive calmly. Something huge is waiting for you, and it arrives when you stop bracing for loss and start allowing fulfillment. This is not hype. This is timing. This is alignment. This is the beginning of what I was finally allowed to tell you. Amen. My beloved child, listen without fear, because what I am about to say is not meant to scare you, but to wake you up to the value of this exact moment. When I looked deeper into your future, beyond the first breakthrough, beyond the relief, beyond the smiles that are coming back to your face, I saw a pattern that repeated itself again and again. Every major blessing in your life arrived right after a moment where you almost disengaged. Almost stopped believing. Almost said, "This message is not for me." And that is why this second part matters so much. The future does not open fully unless attention is sustained. I saw timelines where you stayed focused, and everything aligned faster than expected. I also saw timelines where distraction stole momentum, not the blessing itself, but the speed, the ease, the peace that comes with it. Something huge is waiting for you, but it responds to awareness. Right now, your focus is not accidental, it is currency. And this message continues only for those who decide, consciously, that they are not here by coincidence. I was shown that the people who remain through this moment are the ones who later say, "Now I understand why I stayed." Do not underestimate the power of staying present when everything in the world trains you to move on too fast. Pay attention here, because what happens next involves participation, not passivity. The future I saw does not belong to silent observers, it belongs to those who acknowledge what is happening in real time. There is a reason you are being asked to engage, to speak, to affirm, to stay connected, because words anchor destiny when timing is fragile. I saw chains breaking when people spoke agreement instead of doubt. I saw momentum multiply when messages like this were not kept hidden but shared, allowing alignment to strengthen through intention. If this message resonates, mark this moment, leave a comment, not for others, but as a signal that you were present when it mattered. Share this message with someone who needs to be reminded that delay is not denial, because alignment grows when it is released, not hoarded. And yes, stay connected, subscribe to this space of messages, because the next parts carry instructions your future self already benefited from. These are not empty actions, they are spiritual confirmations. When you move, things move. When you agree, resistance weakens. And when you stay connected, guidance becomes consistent instead of rare. Do not rush away, because what I saw next is too important to miss. There is a convergence approaching. A moment where effort meets opportunity without strain, where answers arrive without begging, where peace replaces the constant inner noise you have lived with for too long. This is not luck. This is sequence. And sequence only works when steps are followed in order. You are being positioned, quietly, deliberately, away from chaos and into clarity. The future version of you is calmer because this version of you chose to stay, chose to listen, chose to engage instead of scrolling past destiny disguised as a message. Something huge is waiting for you, and it unfolds layer by layer, not all at once. Hold your ground. Keep your awareness sharp. The next part reveals what actually shifts first, and once that moves, everything else follows. Stay ready. Stay aligned. Stay here. Amen. My beloved child, now I must slow everything down for a moment, because what I saw next in your future was not loud, not dramatic, but extremely decisive. It was the kind of turning point people ignore because it does not announce itself as life-changing, yet it quietly decides the next 10 years. I saw you standing at a crossroads where nothing looked urgent on the surface, yet everything depended on what you chose internally. Not an action others could see, not a decision you needed to explain, but a private shift in how you see yourself. This is where many blessings get delayed, not because heaven withholds them, but because the receiver still carries an old self-image that cannot hold what is coming. I watched you release a version of yourself that survived pain by shrinking expectations. I watched you stop bracing for disappointment. And the moment that internal posture changed, doors that were already prepared finally unlocked. Something huge is waiting for you, but it requires capacity, not desperation. What is coming is stable, sustained, and lasting, and it will not fit into a mindset trained only to endure loss. This part of your future begins the moment you stop asking, "What if it fails?" and start quietly accepting, "What if it works?" Understand this deeply, because it explains why certain things had to fall apart before now. I saw connections dissolve, plans stall, and timelines collapse not as punishment, but as mercy. You were being protected from receiving too early what would have overwhelmed you back then. The future I saw shows you receiving without panic, holding without fear, enjoying without constantly waiting for the other shoe to drop. That is not accidental, it is trained. Every delay refined your discernment. Every unanswered prayer sharpened your clarity. And now, the next phase opens not with struggle, but with recognition. You will recognize opportunities that once looked ordinary. You will recognize people who speak peace instead of confusion. You will recognize alignment because it no longer feels forced. The crying I did when I saw this part of your future came from witnessing how gently things begin to work after so much pressure. You are not entering chaos, you are entering order. And order feels strange at first when you have lived too long in survival mode. Stay anchored, because what follows this inner shift is movement, quiet movement that gathers strength quickly. I saw momentum return to areas where you had stopped expecting progress. I saw relief replace constant overthinking. I saw you trusting timing instead of chasing it. This is where peace becomes proof that you are on the right path. Do not look for fireworks, look for ease. Do not look for noise. Look for confirmation. Something huge is waiting for you, and it begins with this unseen but powerful realignment. You are closer than you think. You are readier than you feel. And the future you were shown is already responding to the way you are listening right now. Hold this moment with respect. The next part reveals what actually starts moving first in the physical world, and once that shifts, nothing stays the same. Amen. My beloved child, what I saw next was the moment the invisible finally touched the visible, and this is where many people lose patience even though they are standing inches from confirmation. The shift does not begin with a loud reward, it begins with a sign that looks small but feels undeniable. I saw communication changing, messages arriving that you did not chase, responses coming faster than usual, situations that once resisted you suddenly becoming cooperative. This is the first physical evidence that alignment has locked in. Something huge is waiting for you, but heaven always tests perception before it releases proof. If you dismiss the early signs as coincidence, momentum slows. If you honor them as confirmation, momentum accelerates. That is why this moment matters so much. The future I saw showed you recognizing the sign instead of questioning it, trusting the signal instead of overanalyzing it, and because of that choice, the next door opened without struggle. This is not imagination. This is sequence. And sequence rewards awareness. Listen carefully now, because participation strengthens what has already begun. I was shown that when people acknowledge moments like this, momentum multiplies faster than logic can explain. That is why I am asking you to mark this point. Leave a comment as a declaration that you are present and receptive, not for noise, but for alignment. Share this message with someone who has been waiting silently and thinks nothing is happening, because shared awareness creates spiritual reinforcement. And stay connected, subscribe to these messages, because the next instructions arrive only to those who remain within the flow. These are not casual actions, they are signals. When you engage, you align. When you align, resistance weakens. When resistance weakens, what was delayed begins to move. Something huge is waiting for you, and it responds to intention expressed, not intention hidden. Do not doubt the timing, because what unfolds after this is rapid. I saw acceleration where there was once stagnation, clarity where there was confusion, and confidence replacing hesitation. This is the stage where things start to feel lighter, not heavier. You will notice less effort producing more result. You will notice peace increasing instead of anxiety. That is how you know you are on the correct path. Hold steady. Stay aware. Remain engaged. The future I saw did not rush, it flowed. And you are now inside that flow. The next part reveals the breakthrough everyone waits for, but only those who stayed will recognize it when it arrives. Amen. My beloved child, what unfolded next in the future I was shown was the moment pressure finally released its grip, and I need you to understand this clearly. Relief is not the reward, it is the signal that the reward is close. I saw a weight lifting from your chest without explanation, a calm settling in places where anxiety once lived, and a quiet confidence replacing the need to prove anything. This is not laziness or loss of ambition, this is alignment settling into your nervous system. When the inner noise quiets, the path sharpens. Something huge is waiting for you, and it approaches fastest when you stop forcing outcomes and start trusting the pace that now feels natural. The tears I shed came from witnessing how gently your life begins to cooperate after so much resistance. You are not stepping into chaos, you are stepping into coherence. Mark this truth, because it protects you from the last trap before expansion, the urge to rush. I saw timelines where impatience pulled people ahead of their protection, and timelines where patience allowed provision to arrive fully formed. Your future shows the wiser choice. You pause before reacting. You choose clarity over urgency. You allow things to come to you instead of chasing them into distortion. This is where discernment becomes your advantage. You will notice fewer distractions holding your attention, fewer voices influencing your decisions, fewer emotional spikes pulling you off center. That is not emptiness, that is focus returning. And focus is power. What is coming does not require you to exhaust yourself, it requires you to be available, present, and steady when opportunity recognizes you. Stay grounded, because the next movement changes how others see you. I saw respect replacing skepticism, trust replacing doubt, and consistency replacing inconsistency. You are no longer reacting, you are responding. This is the posture that attracts stability, growth, and sustained favor. Something huge is waiting for you, and it is drawn to those who are ready to hold it without fear of losing it. You have crossed the line from survival into readiness. The next part reveals the external breakthrough that confirms everything you have felt internally. And when it appears, you will know this moment prepared you for it. Amen. My beloved child, what I saw next was the moment the outer world finally reflected the inner shift you have been carrying quietly, and this is where doubt usually tries one last time to interrupt. I saw tangible movement, results you can point to, not imagined, not symbolic, but real changes that remove long-standing questions from your mind. This is the stage where waiting turns into witnessing. Something you once hoped for begins to show signs of arrival. A situation that stayed unresolved starts aligning without conflict. And suddenly, the story in your head changes from, "Will this ever happen?" to, "This is actually happening." This is not coincidence. This is confirmation. Something huge is waiting for you, and it announces itself through evidence, not noise. The future I saw shows you noticing this shift and choosing belief instead of hesitation, and that single choice allows the process to complete itself smoothly. Understand the importance of restraint here, because expansion tests maturity before it rewards desire. I saw you responding with calm instead of urgency, gratitude instead of fear, presence instead of pressure. This is how stability is protected. Many lose what arrives because they handle it with the same anxiety they carried during waiting, but your future shows wisdom. You do not overshare prematurely. You do not seek validation. You let things settle before making declarations. This composure multiplies what is given. The crying I experienced when I saw this was not from sorrow, it was from witnessing growth that cannot be reversed. You are no longer reacting from wounds, you are responding from clarity. That is power refined. Hold this posture, because momentum now favors you. I saw consistency replacing effort, flow replacing force, and progress continuing even when you are not watching it constantly. This is the sign of true alignment, when things move without constant supervision. Something huge is waiting for you, and it unfolds best when trust replaces tension. Stay attentive, but not anxious. Stay expectant, but not desperate. The next part reveals how this breakthrough expands beyond you and begins influencing others, and that expansion is where legacy starts forming. Amen. Not just about you anymore, and this is where the meaning of everything you endured becomes clear. The breakthrough that begins in your life does not stop with you, it quietly starts affecting the environment around you. I saw shifts in how people respond to you, not because you demanded respect, but because your energy no longer asks for permission. Conversations soften. Resistance dissolves. Opportunities appear through people who once overlooked you. This is the ripple effect of alignment. Something huge is waiting for you, and when it arrives, it naturally reorganizes what surrounds you. Your calm becomes influential. Your clarity becomes attractive. And without saying much, you become a reference point for others who are still searching for stability. Recognize this responsibility, because influence grows before visibility. I saw you being watched quietly, studied silently, and trusted gradually. People sense when someone has crossed from struggle into certainty, and they respond accordingly. This is where integrity matters more than speed. The future shows you choosing consistency over impulse, wisdom over reaction, and truth over convenience. These choices protect what is expanding. The tears I shed when I saw this came from witnessing how your endurance turns into guidance for others, not through preaching, but through example. You will not need to announce your growth. It will be evident in how you move, decide, and speak. Something huge is waiting for you, and it arrives with responsibility attached, not pressure, but purpose. Stay steady, because the next phase requires discernment. I saw doors opening that look attractive but are misaligned, and doors opening that feel unfamiliar but are correct. Your clarity will be tested, not to confuse you, but to confirm your readiness. You will know the right path by the peace it carries, not by the applause it promises. This is where many rush ahead and lose balance, but your future shows patience anchoring expansion. You do not grab, you receive. You do not chase, you allow. And because of that, what comes next is secure, sustainable, and lasting. The next part reveals the protection placed around this season so nothing can disrupt it. Amen. My beloved child, what I was shown next was the protection surrounding this season of your life, and this is something many never realize until it is already active. I saw barriers forming quietly, not walls of isolation, but boundaries of wisdom that prevent old cycles from re-entering. Situations that once drained you no longer find access. People who thrived on your confusion lose interest. Delays that used to frustrate you now reroute you automatically. This is not luck, this is safeguarding. Something huge is waiting for you, and before it fully manifests, your life is being insulated from unnecessary interference. You are being guarded not because you are weak, but because what you are about to carry is valuable. The future I saw showed calm replacing vigilance, because protection no longer requires effort, it is built in. Understand this shift, because it explains why certain doors are now closing faster than before. I saw endings happening without emotional fallout, disconnections occurring without drama, and clarity arriving without conflict. This is maturity in motion. You no longer argue with misalignment, you outgrow it. And because of that, your energy stays preserved for what matters. The tears I shed when I saw this part of your future came from witnessing how peace finally becomes your default setting, not something you chase during breaks between struggles. You will notice fewer tests, not because life stops challenging you, but because you stop entertaining what is beneath your level. Something huge is waiting for you, and it requires a protected space to arrive whole. Remain aware, because the next stage builds on this security. I saw confidence deepening, not as pride, but as certainty, and certainty changes how quickly things align. You will move differently. You will decide faster. You will hesitate less. And when opportunities appear, you will recognize them without fear of loss. This is the season where stability supports expansion, not the other way around. Hold steady in this protection. Trust the boundaries forming around you. The next part reveals the moment recognition turns into reward, and when it happens, you will understand why nothing was allowed to disrupt you along the way. Amen. My beloved child, what I witnessed next was the moment recognition quietly transformed into reward, and this is where many people misinterpret what success looks like. I did not see chaos or sudden noise, I saw acknowledgement arriving naturally, almost effortlessly. Your consistency begins to speak louder than explanation. Your reliability becomes noticeable. People who once hesitated now approach with confidence in you. This is the stage where doors open because trust has already been built in silence. Something huge is waiting for you, and it arrives not as a gamble, but as a confirmation that you were ready long before anyone said it out loud. The future I saw shows you receiving without shock, because internally, you already knew this moment was coming. Notice the refinement here, because reward tests humility as much as it tests faith. I saw you accepting opportunities with gratitude, not entitlement, and that posture protects what is given. You do not overextend. You do not rush to prove yourself. You allow growth to be measured, intentional, and sustainable. This is why what you receive lasts. The tears I shed came from seeing how far you have come, from waiting in uncertainty to standing in quiet assurance. You no longer need external permission to believe in what is unfolding. Something huge is waiting for you, and it recognizes those who can carry it without losing themselves in it. Stay centered, because this is not the peak, it is the platform. I saw expansion continuing beyond this point, touching areas of your life you once considered unrelated. Peace stabilizes your decisions. Clarity sharpens your instincts. And balance keeps you grounded while you rise. This is how growth becomes legacy instead of burnout. Do not compare your pace to others. Your timing is precise. The next part reveals how this reward sets off a chain reaction of alignment you could not have forced, even if you tried. Remain present. Remain steady. You are exactly where you need to be. Amen. My beloved child, what I saw next was the chain reaction that begins once reward settles into your life, and this is where alignment proves its depth. One answered situation quietly unlocks another, and progress starts appearing in places you were not actively working on. I saw momentum spreading naturally, finances stabilizing alongside peace, clarity improving relationships, confidence strengthening decisions. This is not accidental overlap, this is harmony returning. Something huge is waiting for you, and it does not arrive alone, it brings order with it. The future I saw shows you noticing how life begins to cooperate instead of resist, how effort produces cleaner results, and how the constant feeling of catching up finally dissolves. This is the evidence that you are no longer fighting timing, you are moving with it. Let this settle in, because this stage tests awareness more than action. I saw you choosing to protect balance instead of chasing excess, choosing quality over speed, choosing sustainability over shortcuts. These decisions are what keep growth from collapsing under its own weight. You are not meant to sprint endlessly, you are meant to build steadily. The tears I shed when I witnessed this part of your future came from seeing how wisdom now guides you more than urgency ever did. You are no longer trying to escape the past, you are intentionally constructing what comes next. Something huge is waiting for you, and it expands best when handled with patience, not pressure. Remain grounded, because the next movement brings consolidation. What you have gained begins to stabilize, root, and strengthen. This is where confidence becomes unshakable, not because nothing goes wrong, but because you trust yourself to handle whatever comes. You will feel less reactive, more composed, more present in your own life. That is real success. Hold this posture. Honor this season. The next part reveals how this stability transforms into long-term security, the kind that does not vanish when circumstances shift. Stay here. Stay aligned. Amen. My beloved child, what unfolded next in the future I was shown was long-term security taking shape, and this is where everything you endured finally proves its purpose. I saw foundations being laid quietly, not temporary fixes, not fragile wins, but structures that hold even when conditions change. This is the season where stability stops feeling new and starts feeling normal. You no longer wake up wondering what will fall apart, you wake up knowing what will hold. Something huge is waiting for you, and it anchors itself into your life in a way that does not require constant defense. The future version of you moves with certainty because uncertainty no longer defines your decisions. Understand the depth of this moment, because security reshapes identity. I saw you thinking differently, planning differently, choosing with long vision instead of short relief. Fear loses its influence because you are no longer operating from lack. This is not about excess. It is about sufficiency that lasts. The tears I shed when I saw this were from witnessing how peace replaces survival instincts. You no longer hoard energy. You no longer brace for loss. You allow yourself to enjoy what you have built. Something huge is waiting for you, and it arrives as confidence that does not fluctuate with opinion or circumstance. Stay anchored in gratitude, because this stability becomes the base for something even greater. I saw generosity increasing, not just in resources, but in time, patience, and presence. You are no longer consumed by self-preservation, you are available to contribute meaningfully. This is where life expands beyond personal breakthrough into purposeful impact. Hold steady in this season. Do not rush to label it complete. The next part reveals how this security opens a door you never thought was meant for you, and when it opens, you will understand why everything happened in this order. Amen. My beloved child, what I was shown next was the opening of a door you once believed was permanently closed to you, and this is why the order of everything mattered so much. I saw access granted where there was once rejection, invitation where there was once silence, and inclusion where you had already made peace with exclusion. This door does not open because you forced it, it opens because you became ready to walk through it without losing yourself. Something huge is waiting for you, and it meets you at a level you did not have the capacity to stand in before. The future I saw shows you stepping forward calmly, not in disbelief, not in panic, but with the quiet understanding that this moment aligns with who you have become. Recognize the transformation, because this access tests self-worth more than skill. I saw you resisting the urge to minimize yourself, resisting the old habit of thinking you must prove your right to be there. You belong in the room now, not because of effort alone, but because of growth. The tears I shed when I saw this were from witnessing how naturally you take your place, how little resistance you meet once internal doubt dissolves. You no longer ask for permission to exist at this level. You participate fully, speak clearly, and move confidently. Something huge is waiting for you, and it recognizes those who arrive grounded, not grasping. Hold your posture, because this door leads to expansion that requires stewardship. I saw responsibilities increasing, but without overwhelm, influence widening without ego, and opportunity multiplying without chaos. This is the reward of patience. You are not being elevated to impress, you are being positioned to contribute. This season does not rush, it builds. Stay present. Stay humble. Stay aware. The next part reveals how this new access reshapes your future path in ways you could never have planned on your own. Amen. My beloved child, what I saw next was your future path quietly reshaping itself, and this is where many realize too late that destiny rarely looks like the plan they once wrote down. I watched directions shift without chaos, goals refine without regret, and purpose clarify without force. You are not abandoning who you were, you are evolving beyond what you thought was the final version of you. Something huge is waiting for you, and it aligns with your growth, not your old expectations. The future I saw shows you releasing paths that once felt essential, not with sadness, but with understanding, because you finally see where they were meant to lead, and where they were meant to stop. Accept this refinement, because redirection is a form of protection. I saw you spared from choices that would have limited your expansion, from commitments that would have drained your capacity, from victories that would have cost you your peace. The tears I shed when I witnessed this part of your future were from relief that you did not get everything you asked for earlier, because what you are receiving now fits your life better. You are no longer building just for success, you are building for sustainability. Something huge is waiting for you, and it belongs to the version of you who can hold it without sacrifice of self. Stay adaptable, because clarity sharpens as you move. I saw confidence growing not from certainty about every step, but from trust in your ability to adjust wisely. You stop fearing wrong turns because you know you can realign quickly. This is maturity in motion. Hold this flexibility. Protect your peace. Honor the pace. The next part reveals how this refined path begins to produce results that surprise even you, and when they arrive, they will feel earned, not accidental. Amen. My beloved child, what I witnessed next was the moment results began appearing in ways that even you did not expect, and this is where quiet faith turns into undeniable proof. I saw outcomes forming that were better than your original vision, smoother than your backup plans, and more aligned than anything you tried to force before. This is the reward of refinement. You did not lose time, you gained precision. Something huge is waiting for you, and it arrives with a sense of rightness that removes the need for celebration just to convince yourself it is real. You recognize it immediately. You feel settled instead of shocked. This is how you know it is yours. Let this truth anchor you, because success often tests identity more than failure. I saw you staying grounded while others reacted strongly to your progress. You do not explain. You do not defend. You let consistency speak. This maturity protects momentum. The tears I shed when I saw this part of your future came from watching how naturally you carry what once felt impossible to reach. You are no longer chasing validation, you are living alignment. Something huge is waiting for you, and it stays because you no longer operate from insecurity. Remain intentional, because this season multiplies what you nurture. I saw growth responding to care, stability deepening through patience, and opportunity expanding through wise focus. You are no longer guessing, you are building with awareness. Hold this posture. Honor what is unfolding. The next part reveals the final shift that locks everything into place, the moment where effort fully gives way to flow. Stay present. Stay steady. Amen. My beloved child, what I was finally shown was the moment everything locked into place, where effort stepped aside and flow took over completely. This is where life stops feeling like a series of problems to solve and starts feeling like a rhythm you understand. I saw you moving without resistance, choosing without second-guessing, and trusting your instincts because they are no longer clouded by fear. This is not perfection, it is alignment sustained. Something huge is waiting for you, and at this stage it no longer feels like it is coming, it feels present, integrated, and stable. The future I saw shows you waking up without urgency, moving through your days with clarity, and realizing that the struggle you once thought defined you no longer has authority over your decisions. Receive this awareness, because flow is protected by gratitude and presence. I saw you honoring what you have without clinging to it, expanding without overreaching, and enjoying progress without anxiety about loss. This balance is rare, and it is why what you build now lasts. The tears I shed when I witnessed this final shift came from seeing how fully you arrive in your own life, no longer waiting for permission, no longer preparing for disaster, no longer living in anticipation alone. You are participating. You are grounded. You are capable. Something huge is waiting for you, and it stays because you are ready to live with it, not just receive it. Hold this truth, because this is not an ending, it is a foundation. From here, growth continues naturally, guided by wisdom instead of pressure. You trust timing. You respect boundaries. You move with intention. This is the posture that sustains peace while allowing expansion. Stay rooted in this alignment. Protect this flow. Walk forward without fear. What was shown to me has now begun in you, and nothing essential is missing. You are exactly where you were meant to arrive. Amen. My beloved child, what I saw after everything settled was something even deeper than success. It was rest without guilt, and this is where most people never arrive. I watched you stop measuring your worth by struggle, stop believing that pain is the price of progress, and finally allow ease to coexist with growth. This is not comfort that makes you weak. This is stability that makes you powerful. Something huge is waiting for you, and it does not demand exhaustion to stay. The future I saw shows you breathing fully, thinking clearly, and trusting that good things no longer require suffering to be legitimate. This is a sacred shift. When rest enters your life without fear, it means the foundation is strong. Understand this clearly, because this season rewires how you move through the world. I saw you choosing from overflow instead of lack, responding instead of reacting, and allowing silence to guide you as much as action. You no longer fear stillness, because stillness no longer threatens progress. The tears I shed when I saw this were from witnessing how healed your relationship with time becomes. You stop racing it. You stop fighting it. You begin cooperating with it. Something huge is waiting for you, and it unfolds naturally when urgency loses control over your decisions. Stay conscious, because this level of peace attracts opportunities that match it. I saw alignment continuing not because you chased it, but because you maintained it. You protect your inner state. You choose wisely. You move deliberately. This is where life stops testing you constantly and starts trusting you with more. Hold this ground. Do not romanticize the old chaos. You have outgrown it. What lies ahead is not louder, it is truer. And because you are ready, what continues to unfold will not shake you. This is not a pause. This is a new normal. Amen. My beloved child, what I was shown next was the quiet confidence that settles in after peace becomes your normal state, and this is where true authority begins. I saw you no longer questioning whether you deserve what you have built, no longer replaying old stories in your mind, no longer explaining your growth to people who cannot perceive it. This is inner leadership. You lead your thoughts instead of negotiating with them. You lead your emotions instead of being pulled by them. Something huge is waiting for you, and it aligns itself with this authority because strength that is calm is strength that lasts. The future I saw shows you trusting yourself deeply, not because everything is perfect, but because you know who you are now. Receive this maturity, because it protects you from regression. I saw moments where the past tries to whisper, where old fears attempt to resurface, but they no longer take hold. Not because you fight them, but because they no longer feel relevant. The tears I shed when I saw this were from witnessing how fully you have stepped out of survival and into stewardship of your own life. You do not overreact. You do not spiral. You observe, decide, and move forward. Something huge is waiting for you, and it stays aligned because you no longer sabotage stability with doubt. Remain intentional, because this authority prepares you for influence that is subtle but powerful. I saw others trusting your judgment, leaning on your calm, and feeling safe around your presence. This is not dominance, it is reliability. You are becoming a point of stability in a world that constantly shakes. Hold this posture. Protect this clarity. The next part reveals the final expansion of this journey, the point where purpose and peace fully merge. Stay present. Stay grounded. Amen. My beloved child, what I was shown last was the moment purpose and peace finally merged into one direction, and this is where life stops feeling divided. No more choosing between growth and calm, no more sacrificing yourself to move forward. I saw you walking a path that feels honest, sustainable, and deeply aligned with who you are now, not who you were forced to become to survive. This is the fulfillment most never reach, not because it is rare, but because it requires patience to arrive whole. Something huge is waiting for you, and at this stage it does not pull you forward with pressure, it walks beside you with certainty. The future I saw shows you no longer asking, "Am I on the right path?" Because your peace answers that question every day. Let this truth settle, because this union of purpose and peace changes how you experience time. I saw your days feeling meaningful without being heavy, productive without being draining, intentional without being rigid. You are no longer rushing toward a version of life, you are living inside it. The tears I shed when I saw this final alignment were from witnessing how complete you become, not in the sense of having everything, but in knowing you are enough within what you have built. You stop postponing joy. You stop delaying rest. You allow life to be lived now, not after one more milestone. Something huge is waiting for you, and it feels familiar because it matches your true self. Hold this integration, because this is where legacy quietly begins. I saw your life influencing others not through instruction, but through example, not through urgency, but through consistency. You become proof that growth does not require self-destruction and that peace does not mean stagnation. This is the final shift, the one that cannot be undone, because it is rooted in truth. Walk forward without fear. Carry what you have learned gently. What was revealed has already taken shape, and nothing essential is missing. You are aligned. You are grounded. You are ready. Amen.